but it's fantastic to hear that's coming out soon. I did some calculations of my own. I'm very lucky that I can very easily isolate the dish. And as for the aerials, they're all on top of masts, so it should be okay. So that's good news. I've got myself a cheat sheet here because I've got a dreadful memory. GB3NQ, our local meter, 70 sem and 23 sem inputs, all digital plus analog on 23. It's being taken off the air this weekend. We have been donated a fantastic floor-to-ceiling wires between them, and we're going to re-site it in this one single rack along with UPS, temperature control, we were there last weekend, and the fuse is blue on the TV repeater. The 19-inch encoder, we use a professional DVB-S encoder and modulator and up converter to 13
I don't think you'll be able to see it, but resistor just below
That sounds good. Do we have audio? Yes, we do. Good. Okay, evening all. Thank you, Martin. G4XAT from G4FKK in the BATC Net. Yes, I've had a busy couple of weeks really. I spent 4 days, Friday to Monday, up in Warwick with my son Josh, but before I went I decided to build myself a double biquat for 24 centimeters. So here it is. It is my junk N type to hardline, and it matches up nicely. I'll show you the picture if I can find the right little bit. Hang on. That's what it looks like. So lovely and broad, as you'd hope for the design. It could do with being a little bit up the band, because depending on how you space it from the back of the grid reflector, you can get the match down to about 1.1, but not at that frequency. So I've gone for a best fit. The size is as per a calculator, but it looks to me as though it needs to be a little bit longer. I'm using a different power supply to feed things tonight, so it may be a bit quieter than usual, which would be good. And because I'm using a different power supply, I'm using my nice little power meter. So that's what the station is consuming, or rather that's what the amplifier is consuming, but it feeds L by 450 and a of semi-rigid thin stuff. Okay, it's over, so I'll let somebody else have a waffle. Let's see if I can get the timing right this time. So round to you, Richard.
Right, that took a long while to come up. Right, that took a long while to come up. Right, I think I'm up. Nice to see you, Richard. Let's see if I can swap over for a picture of me. That's a piece of paper. Regards the rain, I hope these tomorrow because I have a to they're coming. So let's hope they do. I noticed my picture was on the BATC feed from the transmissions on GB3HV on Tuesday, where things didn't go quite right. But I was just wondering who has got the BATC Twitter feed, where it came from. I can't log in and look at it. I was who put the likes on there, but and I hope you enjoyed my QTV. It was null packets. I just noticed my picture froze for a moment there. Everybody okay? And that should go. Did mention, and it's a problem that's just. I have a lap started to do a pre-boot hardware test. Hardware test is passed okay, but there's a very loud sound pulse, and it is very loud. Only brief, but, more or less very annoying. But since Tuesday I've put the computer on a few times and it hasn't done it. So who knows? Computers, what can you do about it? The Dell's come up with some message at the moment and I can't read Gareth's Gareth's message until it goes. Hold on, let's get rid of that notification. Yeah, you're going to be the expert on Motion Eye, so if it doesn't work I shall be contacting you. I'm just a bit concerned that the camera has its own client. But there we go. Right, that's enough waffling for me. Can't see any other mentions. It's going to be round to Nigel once I prepare the test card. So over to Nigel, 2E0EHH from G88KN and the QO100 net. Juice.
Much. Excellent. Yeah, well, you're a good signal. Okay, thank you very much. You're a good signal. It's a whole lot better than the start, I have to say. So you're doing all right, really, I would say. Excellent. Anyway, very good evening to everyone. Very good evening. It's been hectic. The big news is I have the NOV for GB3SQ to operate from this location, which is that's the big one, and there's a mad panic now to get on air as soon as possible, although there will be a lot of areas to revisit in the course of time. So that's my main objective at the minute. I've been very busy at work and very busy generally, so we haven't got to grips with it. But I'm sort of planning in my mind whenever I can. So, but I have a few days off next week, and so that will be when we hope to get something underway. So that's the big one, as far as I'm concerned. So really pleased about that. We can get the repeater back on. It's been working on receive for some time. Although I did have one of the receivers, the power supply gave up the ghost, which was a bit bit inconvenient. But fortunately, I had another one, so I've swapped that out. So first time I've had one fail actually. But there we go. But today we're trialing the new F1 EJP software version. Hang on, there we are. Version 2.73. I'm running at the moment. I'd run version 2.44 for quite some time, and then another one came out, and I had lip sync issues. But this new one appears to be okay. So I don't seem to have that. I'm assuming some form of hardware issue this end, I should think. But the setup this end is OBS running F1 EJP software, and the encoding's done by my graphics card, and then straight into a Pluto. As simple as that, really. There's really nothing to it at all. So that's a pretty good one, really. I did test it prior to the net. Had a really nice QSO with Delta Lima 1 Whiskey Echo Romeo and friend in the shack there. Very nice QSO. We sort of had a little tour of each other's shack. Interestingly, he had a little video made of his. I thought, that's a good idea. I should do that, really. Just a little look round of the equipment and such like. Always interesting to see someone else's shack. So very good indeed. So there's quite a few on. So I think I'm probably best hand it over. I could go on, as been mentioned before, I suppose. There's one sneaked in there just before Dave. Ah yes, G3 RUZ. He's next on the list, so get ready. I'll be passing over fairly soon. There we are. You might see this glorious. I'll do this last one. This glorious tin that came from a fellow amateur. He very kindly sent me one of these relays and enclosed it in this magnificent tin. Absolutely, look at that. That is absolutely brilliant, isn't it? That's made my week, actually. That's made my week. So that's a little bonus gift, but really fantastic, I think. So there we are. Well, it's in pride of place on top of the 3D printer. Okay then. G3 RUZ to take it. G4KLB. If he can manage to operate OBS at the same time. There we go.
One Yeah, in Cornwall earlier, the beacon was the web SDR was showing a couple of dB down with rain attenuation. Paul, yeah, you're just on the limit there with your transport stream. I think your audio was and but the graphics I saw before the net looked absolutely stunning, really nice. Mike, the new Ryde head, yeah, that looks a little bit of confusion around the bazaars. I'm not so sure about. It'll take it after me before it goes. About using one of those little power supplies for a Raspberry Pi 4. But I'm sure it will work. How long it will work for, I'm not so sure. Martin, video on top band. Yes, interesting. I think we're almost narrow enough in bandwidth now for it. That area looks to that bit of 23 SEMS. Richard, the attenuator in the ports down, yes, all my transmitters have one of those attenuators in, and that's how I wind the power up and down for the net, for example. But they're manually controlled, not software controlled. In answer to your question about the Twitter feed, Roger, it's run by Ian JDXZD, who is our publicity officer on the committee. So he'll have done a streamer and trimmed it and put it on there. So he's just keeping people's interest up with that. So it's that's where it came from. Nigel, your transmission is excellent. I'm sorry to hear your dish has got moved slightly, so your receiver doesn't work as well. But your transmission is excellent, really. Things around on the bench, so put on your ports down or any other image, and that'll get released. The last is in a state
Yes, evening everybody. Thanks for inviting me in. I thought I'd better come on and bully everybody about the 77's activity day in 10 days time. What we've been doing here is messing around, testing 122 gigahertz dishes and aerials and feeds. Unfortunately, Gareth has suffered as a result of that. Needs some mechanical work doing, so well done, Gareth. The other thing I've been doing is testing the 77 big boots, QRO 77's amplifier, which will it will go pretty much full scale on that, but I haven't had it running that far. So I've got about 125 watts out of it the other night into HV, which gave me a pretty good MER. And that then gave me another problem, because trying to run that portable is going to be hard. Oh, here's an interesting thing. So this is actually an Arthur G4 CPE amplifier, and those of you in the know will know what it is. It's an X-Broadcast 300 watt UHF device, and the one I got has actually got a front panel that was built by Peter G3PYB, and unfortunately now he's silent key for about the last 5 years. And this was really the first time I'd powered it up, and I powered it up with the with this front panel plugged in, and all the LEDs came on, but the switches didn't do anything, and it didn't make any sense at all. So I after the HV Net the other night, I pulled the board out to work out what was going on, and there's clearly a bit missing, because there's a PCB with a hole for a chip, and this brew one rebuild that, so it makes some sense to me. But it seems to work pretty well on the big ports down. That's the big ports down underneath. I'm having to use the normal 77 PA, which is a 20 watt device, as the driver. The complication is that I can't do that port. I've always run portable on batteries. So the big discussion on Tuesday night on the HV Net was, how am I going to do this? And various people were lobbying that I should have to get a generator, which is something I've resisted. Smelly, horrible, noisy things. But I kind of gave in, I must admit. And today I was in Southampton, and there happens to be a machine mart in Southampton, and I wandered in there and came back with this. So yes, it's an 1100 watt inverter generator, pretty small, but I know Mike's got the bigger version, but they got them on special offer. It was about 35 quid cheaper than it should have been. So yeah, there you go. So 10 days time I shall be out portable on 77s, as will a load of other people. Hopefully you guys will all be there. Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's going to get used once a year or whatever. So yes, it's not quiet, but not too bad, as Mike says. So there we go. I've now made an investment, so you guys better repay it by being on the band. Right, goes round to Roger G3IUZ. So with that, I'll pass it on to you, Rog. Best 73s for everybody. I should get a one time only, so best 73s, and we'll catch you all later. 8GTZ and the BATC.
Right, I hope we're back in back in business properly this time. I do beg your pardon. For some reason, the F1 EJP decided it didn't want to function on that last attempt at an over. So apologies. Right, well, very nice from everybody. At the back end of the queue this evening, I've had the opportunity of watching everybody else and all the things you've been up to, and some very nice pictures, I must say, not just because it's another Roger, but I thought yours was particularly nice, Roger, if I may say so, G3HKN, and also yours, Nigel. Really, really very nice. Anyway, I wonder, I haven't been doing any hardware this week, so I wonder whether I could indulge in a little nostalgia. I think I've mentioned before that my background, way back in the mists of time, after I'd done some years in the RAF after leaving school, instructing V-bomber air crew in how to use the new HF gear, which the V-bombers were just coming on stream back in the early 50s. 1950s, that is, not the 1850s, and I then joined the BBC television service as a probationary television engineer, and I came across some slides which I thought might amuse you when you compare it to what we're doing these days. So, if you will indulge me a moment. Here we are. I was after initial Martin, you may well be a bit tuned into this. After my initial weeks in London at BH and Lime Grove and Shepherd's Bush and so on, I was sent to the Midlands to Birmingham, where they had just fairly recently started a television service. And it was all extremely make do and mend. They'd been given an old derelict mobile controller in it, or scanner, not sure which MCR number it was, and it was housed in this building, which was the old, originally Royal Institute for the Blind in Birmingham, which BBC took over after the war and became the headquarters for the radio, and particularly the Midlands Light Orchestra. And they used the big room that was used for the orchestra. That was taken over by the embryo television service, and they installed these. This is an American RCA. 3 cameras and control units. This is a picture from the RCA catalogue from 1952. I nearly said 1852. 1952. You paid £100,000 for that set in today's money, and here it is, de-rigged. This was our control room production suite. For the Midlands. Here it is, all in bits, with sundry monitors that have been scrounged on the Dexian rack, with the clock that for timing the programs tied up with string and hand wound, and this was the production desk, and the producer sat in the bus seat. So it was all pretty crude. The cameras, these are the RCA TK10 cameras. That's yours truly. This was our news studio, which was basically a box at one end of the studio, which we lined out with boards from egg cases, you know, the big egg trays, and then for the sake of appearance, put hardboard on top. And we did that for about a year before we moved to Gloucester Green, which was which had then been converted to for television. Oh, I'm not showing you this, am I? Oh dear, I am sorry. Let's go back. I beg your pardon. Let's go back. That's Carpenter Road where we started. That's the RCA stuff. Sorry, looking at the wrong monitor, wasn't I? I get used to this one day. This is the studio, come production suite with all the de-rigged old mobile control unit, which had been used, I think, in the coronation in '53. That's one of the cameras, TK Mark 10, and this is me operating it, messing about in the news studio. And this is our new studio at Gloucester Green, converted boxing booth come cinema. This is the new cameras. Everything was brand new there. This is in, I think, 57 or 58. Mark III Marconis, 4.5-inch image orthicons. The old RCA ones were 3-inch. This was the every camera had its own control unit with an operator, VCR operator. So there's 4 cameras, 3 in operation, and 1 control engineer in the middle. This was the production suite. That was the vision mixer. How small it is compared to what you have these days. And through the window there is the sound production, the sound mixer. This is the lighting control here by the lighting engineer. This is inside the sound suite with Wally, I think his name was, with the mixer, the jack field, the ferrograph, and the turntable for sound effects and so on. Yours truly being trained on the desk. One of the great joys in those days was that as a trainee engineer, you did absolutely everything. Cameras, boom mics, vision mixing, maintenance, outside broadcast. This is telecine. In those days, of course, there was no VCRs, and I'll give you something on that sometime. But this was the flying spot scanner, 35mm or 16mm film, and that was the control room. And this is the sort of thing we did. Gardener's World every week with, guess who? Percy Thrower. Some of you will remember it, with his box of earth and his glassless greenhouse. We did Keep Fit every Wednesday afternoon with Eileen Fowler. Complicated plays. It was all done live, of course. 3 cameras, all done live. No VCRs in those days. No editing. It was take it or leave it. Percy again on a Christmas occasion, I think. Again, just a few shots taken around that time. Percy again. The camera crew messing about in Percy's suite. And I can claim this as a very early selfie. That's me taking a photograph of the camera taking a photograph of me. So I can claim that as a selfie from the 1950s. And I'm going to leave you, Martin, I think, will know what Wood Norton Hall was. So that's enough of that. Let's go back, let's take that off. Go back to there. That's quite enough from me. So I'm going to pass it now, I think, to Paul, MNJ, G3IUZ, passing it back to MNJ. I think I've got that right.
Well, have I got video? Yes, I've got video. Oh, have I got video? Yes, got sound. Right. Let's turn that down. Put the camera on. Alright, hopefully this time you can hear me. Let me just check what's being said on the stream. Right, yes, I think I'm there this time. I've taken the bandwidth down a bit and increased the audio, which weirdly, having told my encoder to remember things, it didn't. So lots of notes. First things first, G3IUZ. Thank you very much for the pictures. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. When we finally got to see them, of course. No, that was very good. I noted that there's a new F1 EJP software out. I use the F5 OEO software running on the Pluto, and I'd be interested to hear if anybody else has got any experience of that, as I have a few. And on my mini tune, it talks about F_null packets on the breakdown of the pie chart and that's interpreted as 0%. Certainly on my version of Minitune over there on the computer, which is behind me. Currently I run H.265 on the hardware encoder, hence the nice pictures, with 300k video, 60 resolution of 1280 by 720 and a frame rate of 25. So I'd be interested if anybody's got any thoughts about that, and whether that's a sensible set of figures, and perhaps I should be doing things differently. G4K I love that tin. I absolutely love that tin. Many years ago, and I'm pretty sure I've still got it. I was given a watch with a test card as a background to it as well, so yeah, fantastic. Noel, 70 sems amplifiers. There's no heatsink on that amplifier. I've got quite a few of the amplifiers here. One or two of them actually need repair, but the two to the right of me are a 25 watt and a 300 watt, and the 25 watt needs about a milliwatt. Oh, where's my pictures gone? That's not good. What's happened? Is that a temporary thing, or let me. Right. A rather severe case of rain fade here. Sorry about that. Yes, Arthur's amplifiers. I've got a 25 watt and a 300 watt. The 25 watt needs about a milliwatt drive, so my plan is to drive it from the ports down. So hopefully in 10 days' time I'll be ready and be sending probably around 150 watts out. But yeah, the thing I noticed, the one you've got, I can see there's fans there, but it's only the heat sinks. So I just wondered what happened there. Anyway, in summary, anybody else has got any experience of F5 OEO, I'd appreciate some assistance. And that's it for me for tonight. So I wish you all a very good evening and a great weekend coming up. Sorry about the audio earlier, and hopefully this over has been a lot better. Fingers crossed. 73s everybody, have a good time.
Not running FFmpeg. Then how's he setting the video bandwidth? That might be the problem. Right, what's happening here? It's the Polycom, so let's just unzoom it. Gives away why it looked a bit strange. Hopefully it'll come around to me. Right, good. So there we are. Yeah, all very interesting. Lots of really interesting things being talked about in this particular setting. And Roger, those images and recollections of what you were doing back in the 1950s were really good. So great to see that. I said on the chat the statute of limitations might have applied by now, but then I checked and it turns out that we don't have one in the UK. So any of the criminal activities that you might have been doing back at the time in the 1950s with respect to getting on and playing tricks on people with cameras, etc., is not, you can't get away with it yet.
But very good, and yeah, one of the first selfies in 1950, video selfie, very good. Lots of other interesting things as well. Nigel, your pictures are really good now. It's really working well. I liked your Kilroy was here on your test card. It was very funny. So good to see that, and it's good that that's all. And Martin, I couldn't see that PCB that you'd got from OSH Park, but it looked like it might have been the sort of purple with gold plated. I'm afraid these ones that come in from PCB, no, not PCBWay rather, no, JLC PCB, they're not gold plated. You can get that, but they're not. And the quality seems really good. It'll certainly do small tracks. There are some fairly small tracks on the board that I was showing you earlier on, but they're not a problem at all. I agree, the power supply might not be up to it if it's one of the not very good ones. They should be up to it, and they are sold by Mouser and DigiKey. So given their heritage there, I would have thought they're okay. Right, let's see then. 7-3 everybody, first of all. And round to Martin, G4FKK. G0MJW, trying to find his test card.
Jolly good, that's working. Thank you, Martin. G4XAT from G4FKK and the net. Right, let's get a transition going for that. So you got human input. Okay, the purpose of my visit to Warwick was to help Son with this, which you've seen before. Mainly because he took it on a track day. Oh, I seem to have deleted the picture. Never mind. And blew the engine up basically. So we've sourced a new engine, as in new second hand, out of a 2004 Ford Focus 2 litre, and that was prepared by stripping all the bits off it, which Mike saw with all its bits. Took about 2 hours to get everything we didn't need off it, and that's been trial fitted with minor changes needed to things like the belt drive for the water pump, minor changes to the alternator bracket and the engine mount. So nothing too bad. Before we embarked on that, however, he wanted to change the exhaust on his motorcycle, and disaster befell us there. What you're looking at there is the exhaust port. It's a single cylinder 250cc Honda, and I don't know whether you can see that, but there is evidence of corrosion, shall we say, and the exhaust collar had effectively frozen inside that housing, and attempts to remove it resulted in that. Anyway, fortuitously, we know a good aluminium welder who was able to repair it, and although I'm lighter in pocket, he can at least put the thing back together. So if anybody's ever down this way and needs aluminium welding, I can recommend Angel Welding without any hesitation whatsoever. Okay, let me just check I've not cocked up anything. Yes, yeah. Well, it's been in there 3.5 weeks, Mike. The idea was I'd get it out, but it proved too heavy for my non-engine crane method, because Son's got my engine crane at the moment. Anyway, on another subject, if any of you are into wood turning and remember the Great Hurricane of 1987, this is a quantity of sycamore and indeed wild cherry at the back there, which I salvaged and had planked and air dried. It's been following me around ever since. There's far more there than I'll ever use, and I have used a lot of it. So if anybody fancies a piece of that, or pieces, it is yours for the carriage. I'll just wrap it up in a black bin bag and stick the carriage label on it, and away it goes. So if you've got a wood lathe and you fancy some of that, send me a message on the forum, or my email is on qrz.com or whatever. I'm sure you can work out who and where I am. Right, that'll do from me for today, I think then. Loads of interesting stuff from everybody. Fascinating to see the breadth and depth of what we all get up to. And I'm wondering now whether I can, if my two Nokia Dolphin amps are identical enough to be paired up on a reverse splitter to give me a bit more oomph, or whether I just build a bigger FET amp for 70 sems. Top band, or indeed any other HF band that nobody's using much, like 21 meg with vast empty spaces. All we've got to do is generate the RF. Okay folks, 7-3's all. Thanks for everybody for their contribution, and round to Richard, unless he said he was signing. I don't think he did, but there's a bit of a delay, so over to him, and if not him, then Round to you, Roger, and thanks very much for that nice test card. Okay, so 7-3's all from G4X80, passing it round to GI4DOH. Over.
G4X80 with the group GI4DOH, and just making sure I can hear my own audio. Yeah, everything's back to normal. Actually went out outside, took a piece of kitchen roll with me, and sort of wiped around the LMB, and the rest of it, there is a little sort of rain guard over it. It's interesting having the little Bluetooth earpiece. I was able to hear what was going on. All the rest, well, that didn't make a scrap of difference, but it really is, or was at the time, rather muggy out there, low cloud and everything else. And then over a period of 2 or 3 minutes, signal strength just started to come up, and sort of monitoring on the winter hill, the beacon coming up to, it's now up to D1.5, which it generally here on a dry day and all the rest would be up to 2.5 or 3, so it's a bit down, but I've got everybody really since then, so it's nice to be able to see people or know what I'm actually receiving directly. Colin, I like the tin you had there. That was very nice. And just looking at a couple of notes here, Dave. Yes, on the little attenuator board, that's quite a good idea to manually switch it, because then you can actually adjust while you're on the air. One of my problems at the moment is, while I can see, well, I am actually okay at sort of minus 0.5 dB or something like that according to the wideband spectrum monitor. But there are times where I might want to increase or decrease a little bit, and other things, that's probably the way to go. Noel, I like your big inverter. One of the things I was working on today was actually one of these boost converters. I think that's a 300 watt one, an up converter. Just printed a 3D box for it and almost finished the design of the cover for it. All I need on 23 centimeters is about 5 amps at 28 volts, and I'm sort of not sure whether that will do the job or not. There's one way to find out. Before I head off to Warminster. And the other thing about bandwidth and everything else, because of I've now got the 10 meter down converter. That's a low pass filter, I think from QRP Labs. I put that together yesterday, winding the little coils and the rest, and indeed it cuts off somewhat above 30 megahertz. And Gareth, nice wood there. I don't think I'll take anything more from you. I tried one of those orange chilies a week or so ago, having done my microwave chicken tikka masala, chopped up one of the chilies and put it on top. The big mistake, there's a bit of a difference to them being raw and actually being cooked, and it nearly blew my head off. I've eaten a lot of hot things in the past, but that I have respect for those. So that's enough waffle for me. I wish you all a very good night, and hope to see. Won't see you next week because it's our club meeting, so week after hopefully, and I'll pass it on round to Roger, G8HKN with the group. This is GI4DOH. Good night all. HKN with this is GI4DOH. Good night all.
Yep, thank you, Richard. Those who are very observant will notice I've changed the flag on the map there. Right, back round to me. And a list of things to say. Just see if I'm on. Yeah. Okay, Dave. Thanks for the information about Twitter. You've answered another question, which was who was the ENPP that's on the Facebook page, and of course I looked up in the front cover of CQTV, and the publicity is Ian. So that's answered those two questions. So Martin, yeah, I had one audio glitch on here. I don't know if there was a transmission came up underneath perhaps, but same settings as HV, but the signal to HV from me is very low. I think I need some further tinkering, but because HV wasn't on the air I couldn't do much, and all the experimenting I've done before that has not worked out very well. Nigel, very good pictures. I remember the first time you came on the net, and you were really struggling, but I think you've made some excellent progress, and the pictures are really good now, very good. To Paul, yeah, you've still got audio problems. You've got 128k on the audio. I think it should be 70 or even half that. I noticed Mike was down to 34. So perhaps if you lower the audio and raise the video, I'm not sure how, but that might make some difference. Okay, Colin on the NOV, I've obviously seen that on SQ anyway. What else have we got? Oh yeah, Mike, good pictures on that Polycam camera now. It wasn't quite so good the other day, but it's looking really good this evening. And I think that is it, so I'm not going to say any more. Nothing else on the pad here, so I'll just put a test card up. As there's a bit of nostalgia, I'll change the test card to something a little bit more dated, and I shall pass it round to Nigel, 2E0EHH KN, and the good night all, 73s.
It 2E0EHH returning. Thanks, Roger, for your kind comments. I can't take the overpraise for it. I basically got another colleague from the BATC to actually build me a slightly bigger one and a better one than what me and my mate did. But hey, I can't say. But thanks for comments, and I'm not going to keep it because it's coming up to half past 9, and it's rather late. So I'll say thank you very much, everybody. Comments all taken on board, and thank you. So I'll hand it over to Colin, because it must have passed your bedtime, Colin. Hey, G4HKLB. You got I can't forget. It's over to you, 73 everybody, and catch you next week. 3-0 now going clear and after monitoring. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay, thanks a lot. Excellent. Yeah, very good pictures from you now. Very good pictures indeed. Oh, hang on. Somebody has snuck in on there. There we are. That's right. I wasn't quick enough, was I? There we go. The Winter Hill moved along a little bit, but anyway, no, not to worry. Let me just fiddle with that. There we go. That's it. That's very good. Yeah, very interesting. I've had to I've had to bring in the nearest plant that I could get a hold of. I believe it is an exotic plant, so perhaps not in the same league, but nonetheless, there it is. Oh dear. But yeah, very interesting from everyone. Very interesting, actually. Always good to see, what everyone's up to, this, that, and the other. So very interesting this evening. Yeah, 3D print. Yeah, we've done. Well, it's not me. It's my lad. We've used this tree. He's printing this part here. It's nothing to do with radio, but the infill is using this tree stuff. Look at this. That's what they call it. It's a support, and that's all support, so they can print, and it's just quite fascinating. It's just like trees. There's this bit here. If you look at this little piece here, and it's just like tree trunks, but does this support all automatically generated, and that's the actual part that's wanted. Although this was a failed print. This is ABS, and it's a bit difficult when you've only got a small contact area to do ABS, but it needs to be ABS for this particular application. But that support just came straight off. Fascinating, really. So that's all waste support and a raft. That's what that's all about. Anyway, enough of that. Oh yes, that's my lad designed it. That's one that's not broken. That's an original. And this is the one that he designed to replicate it, and they are very similar. So it'll be very useful to me in future. Okay, but it needed to be ABS, and it was proving a bit tricky. If it was PLA, it'd be dead easy, but that's not a suitable material for the application. Anyway, yeah, I better not hold it anymore because it's been quite a few on tonight, and yes, again, it is my bedtime, strictly speaking, so I better disappear. But thanks to everyone, and catch you all next time round. G4KLB.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you, Dave. That was right. Well, thank you for the nice remarks from everybody about the my indulgence and nostalgia. They were very, very happy days, I have to tell you. It was great. It was pioneering so many times, doing things for the first time, particularly on the outside broadcasts. And I'll bore you with some of that another time. Just a few quickies. Mike, yes, when we moved to Gloucester Green from the shambles at Carpenter Road, we set up a new news studio in Broad Street, switching centre, the main switching centre, or the cabling came in and right around the country. The only coax was from there down to London, to Lime Grove. And sorry, excuse me. So we set up this new studio, and we did have a Vidicon in that. I think it was a Pi Vidicon, about the size of 2 shoe boxes. We were absolutely amazed at how small it was. It's the first time we'd met transistors, you understand. I'll tell you, there we go. Those were the days, you see. It's a long time ago. Martin, yes, I had a very pleasant weekend with my wife to celebrate an anniversary at Wood Norton Hall. Now it's a very, very nice hotel, but they've rebuilt the top floor, which was burnt out, if you remember. Either before or after the war, I can't remember. So yes, happy memories of that, both as a BBC employee and as a BBC and as retired. Gareth, I'll bore you with some pictures from Prescott Hill Crime from the 1950s, if you like, if you're into cars. And just one thing, getting the video from from Carpenter Road to the switching centre, where the coax started, we had to use the GPO twisted pair, and in order to get enough signal to creep out the far end of a mile of twisted pair, ordinary telephone cable, with video, 3 meg wide, I think, bandwidth, we had to put 100 watts up that end. We used 4 807s in push-pull parallel. I think the crosstalk must have been appalling, but we got away with it for 6 months. But there you are. I was just going to show you something about video. Of course, in those days there was no recording; everything was done live. There were very occasional recordings done down in London by basically pointing a film camera at a high quality quite high quality monitor. And that's the only way, and it was too expensive, so we didn't do it. We did everything live. But let me just show you something about video recording, and I'm watching the clock. Just let me just find the picture I want a moment. All right, I think this is the one. Right, going back to my RAF days, this is at number 2 radio school, the Eightsbury in Wiltshire. That's me on the left, and that's a very good friend of mine, Gordon Sharpley, who G3LEE, who was an absolute brain box. And we were both on the permanent staff instructors. There were about 3,000 or 4,000 trainees in those days, and we were only the number 2 radio school. I was doing air wireless. Gordon was doing radar, air radar. But when we both left within a month or 2 of each other, I went to the BBC. He went to Granada in Manchester, where very shortly after arrived, he was put in charge of this, the Ampex VR1000A, which was the very first tape recorder for broadcast quality television. If I can just show you, that was the console, and this was the support. This is about no, it doesn't all work from the 5 amp the 5 amp plug on the wall. That I think he's referring to that one up there. Color light display. It was all illuminated with vacuum pumps and so forth. In the apparatus bays, that contained the power supplies, the servo generators, the pulse formers, the modulation and demodulation, FM recorded, line clamp amplifiers, slaving system, de-whiskering circuits. I bet you haven't got any of those. Sync generators and other unreliable electronics. There were 357 test points and 184 presets, more valves than I care to think about. And that lot cost £300,000 per unit in those days. So think on. So there we are. So that was video recording in 1959. So I thought you might like to see that. And just an image for you, which is this one. and I'll talk about Obies perhaps next time. Where was this British Grand Prix held? I leave you to think about that and tell me next time. So thank you all very much. I wish you all a very good night. And it goes back, I think it goes to you, Dave, doesn't it? I hope I've got that right. So back to you, Dave, and thank you.
Yeah, sorry about the false start there. Got the switching in the wrong order. From GHEKQ. Okay. Roger, really interesting stuff there. I believe I've met Gordon Shapley. I might be wrong, but I think he was involved in the... he came to a couple of RAF Amateur Radio Society dues when I was involved with that. Really interesting stuff. We must see more of that. Forgot to say good evening to all the viewers. I know Don's watching in Northern Ireland, in Southern Ireland, and Tim and NDT as well. Things that Tim has been working on. We've made some progress on the possibility of a audio level meter for the Ryde. We've got some software that might provide a clue for that. What else we got? Paul, that F50EO software is a bit indeterminate to what happens in it. It's not. It works if you drive it exactly the right way, but it's a little bit picky, shall we say? But I think you're getting the right suggestions from Mike. 77 contest. I hope to be out at Lulworth. I won't be out on the high site at Lulworth because I've just realised that just found out the ranges are open that day, so I'll be on the slightly lower site, but it's still a very good takeoff. Gareth, yes, I remember the storm of 1987. I still use the aerials that came down in that storm. They didn't get damaged. It just took out a pole. Luckily, I got a phone call at work saying, "Come home, your aerials have come down," from my neighbour. And Richard, hope you have a good weekend in Warminster. It's due to be rain in the mornings, finer in the afternoon in this area over the weekend. That's it from me. Well, thank you very much for a very interesting net. And look forward to seeing you all next week and get that 77 gear ready for the weekend after. Good night all. G8GKQ, closing the net and leaving the frequency clear.